welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and today I'm launching a new concept called Extreme Crochet. I'm not sure you've ever seen the extreme knitting where they're using 1,000 strings at one time, basically on really thick poles in order to knit with, and I think it's kind of cool, but you know, what do you do with it afterwards? So it's kind of like a really cool concept just to say you did it, but what do you do? So, you know, we have a very active page on the Facebook page that we have is very, very active. We have over 2,100 members at this time. It's free to join, and people are posting pictures all day long and really commenting on other people's photos, and really inspiration is just coming out of the wazoo over on our Facebook fan page. So a few weeks ago I was on the Facebook fan page and I asked people to post a picture and inspire us, and one lady posted a picture of shopping bags and she was crocheting them into floor mats for herself. And I thought, well, okay, that's pretty cool. You know, it's not something that I'd like to do, but it was actually a really cool idea anyway. So, you know, creativity is what it is, and people like different things, and that's all pretty cool. And so a few days later, I'm thinking to myself, you know, what can I do as a new idea here for the channel? And I ran into this pattern that says that you can make a full-size Afghan in one day, and I'm like, yeah, right. And so I was looking at it, and it says you need a big hook. I thought, okay, well, that's actually kind of possible. And I got looking at it, and the yarn that was more for the hook was specialty yarn, so I had to literally order it if I wanted to do it. And then I got thinking a couple days earlier about the shopping bags, so I'm thinking, you know, the shopping bags are something that this lady has come up with. You know, she's using what she has in order to do that, and I thought, well, maybe we need to use what I have in order to do the same thing. So like many of our fine citizens of the Crochet Crowd, you know, a lot of us collect a lot of yarn. Some of us actually hide it in our closets so our spouses don't find out about it. And don't worry, this secret's safe with us. But I have to say, I have so much yarn here that I could choke an elephant. I could probably stuff one too and actually still have some left over. So what I'm thinking is that, okay, so I want to do the Afghan in a day, but I don't have the material. What could I do like the lady did with the shopping bag in order to make it work? And then it occurred, I have a lot of yarn in stock, and so what I decided to do is thinking to myself, like the shopping bag, she's actually manufactured the thickness of the bag in order to fit the pea-size hook. And that's the rule with crochet, is that usually the yarn has to complement the hook in order to make it work. So if you want really fine stuff, you get a really fine hook. If you want really chunky stuff, you go to a bigger, and etc., as long as it can fit within the hooking area. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to order the specialty yarn, but maybe I have something in stock that I can work with. And what I found is that I had some Bernat Softy Chunky in order to be able to do it. So this gave me the idea to manufacture my own yarn at home to make the Afghan in a day. So let me take you up to Studio C upstairs, and I'll show you what I've done with this particular project. Now feast your eyes on this bad boy, and this is my double-sized blanket. I still have to trim some of the edges in there just in case you can see that there's actually just some strings hanging out. I still have to finalize that. But this took me only a week to make, and I'm very, very proud of it. And in actual fact, what I decided to do is that because of the thickness of the yarn, I decided to use 5 balls at one time when doing this. So you can actually see that the strings are really, really thick. So me being the extreme personality that I am, is that I decided to try this extreme concept using the Catherine wheel stitch. And I did this one about a year ago, and it looks really fabulous. So one string basically equals one color. And I thought to myself, why not go to the extreme, not just try a double crochet idea or single crochet or half double. And what I wanted to do is that I wanted to try it in something complex. So that's why I went with the Catherine wheel stitch right away. So what I was able to determine with that is that because there was like 8 strings all together on one time on the hook, is that the original hook that I had wasn't long enough. So what I had to do is that I asked a friend to borrow her hook that had an extra 2 inches. When they say size matters, on the Catherine wheel stitch, the size of your hook matters as well. The string I decided to use is the Bernat Softy Chunky. It already was thick to begin with, so I didn't go with a 4-ply worsted. I actually went with some thick stuff right off the bat. So when you get all 5 strings working together at one time, it actually turns itself into a bit of a cord, and you can see that when you're looking close up onto this blanket. And because it's actually working together, you don't have to worry about any of the strings tangling because they are working together. So if you wanted mixed color, instead of just putting 5 whites together just like you see here to make that, then you can actually mix your yarn with several different ideas. And what I'm thinking about this is that a lot of us have mismatched yarn within our storage closets, that it's actually kind of a cool concept that you don't necessarily have to have a blanket that actually is completely color coordinated like this. I just happen to be fortunate enough to have enough yarn. Now there are 75 balls inside this blanket, so there's a lot of money tied up into this blanket. It's about $300 retail in order to do this, but I think it was really, really quite a cool concept. So let's go over the pros and cons of making extreme crochet. So let's review the pros to this particular blanket. It's extreme, it's different, it's unique. It's actually a lot of fun to do, and because it is so big, like when you compare the size of an actual wheel, just like so, that is on the original, the size difference is just massive, so it actually makes your crochet go a lot quicker. I really liked it for that concept, and the wonderful thing about it, and you got to keep this in mind, is that your hook has to complement your yarn. So when you're doing this kind of stuff, you just have to you can follow virtually any pattern that I have on my channel in order to make Afghan work and anything, and you will still end up with a really great project because your yarn is complementing the hook. And I think that's really such a positive, because now you can actually change a lot of my tutorials that are already there and extreme it with more yarn, a bigger hook, and voila, you still have great looks to it. So there's always a negative in every positive, and so we have a few negatives. You know, the crochet hooks, so, you know, they're really quite thick, and so using normal crochet, it's just really quick hand motions to be able to do it. But because the needle is so, or the hook is so thick, and because the yarn is so thick, there's a lot of hand motion of wrist action, shoulder, and pulling. So in actual fact, so if you have sore wrists, shoulders, or elbows, anything like that, this is a more harder concept to attack. This absorbs a lot of yarn, so if you don't have a lot of yarn in stock, you know, one of these blankets, as I said, was $300, so there's a lot more cost associated to doing this. But I think that's actually kind of a plus, because nobody's going to ever own something like this. Yeah, and I forgot one positive, which I think is really cool. Because this is so big, the project goes super fast. In actual fact, I was able to complete this in 1 week, and I was really happy about it. 57 lines was actually the completion. When you look at the original size, there's a lot more than 57, and this is just a child-sized blanket. So your project goes that much farther. And what I did find, because it's extreme, is that, you know, back and forth is a lot quicker than it would be doing the smaller stuff as well. So not only are you gaining inch-wise, like for example, 6 of these particular lines was nearly a foot thick, and then when you're looking at the small ones, even just going across was a lot quicker. So this project grows up really quick. So if you're one like me that doesn't have a lot of patience or time, this is a really great concept in order to speed yourself up and also create something really truly unique for yourself. So I guess that's it, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. This is really a wonderful concept, so if you're interested in trying something new and something different, this is a really great idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tutorials just preliminary on how to single crochet, double, half double, all of that jazz, and even changing your colors is exactly the same. Everything is just gigantic in size. So we're going to be doing that later here on the Crochet Crowd, and thank you, everybody, and we wish you